Hello and welcome back to Tear Us Apart, a podcast from England's footballing city. On this week's episode, we review Manchester United's 3-0 loss to rivals Liverpool and what went wrong. We also take a look at Manchester City's brilliant unbeaten start to the season and whether Rico Lewis should start over Kyle Walker. But first, I just need to say that Adam isn't joining us today. He's currently got no Wi-Fi down south in his new job, but it is me and Ethan for today's pod. First off, Ethan, I think we have to start with that Manchester United game. I thought there was many expectations of United beating this newly managed Liverpool side, but it didn't seem to turn out quite like that, did it?
No, not at all. Right, I'm going to start with the positives. It won't take long because it's not many. United didn't get this feels stupid to even say. United didn't get blown away by Liverpool to the point where it was like where it was with the 7-0, where it was with the 5-0. It wasn't like that. But Ten Hag said about the XG and everything, which I think is a terrible thing for a manager to ever talk about after a loss to your biggest rivals, 3-0 at home. It wasn't horrendous, but now I'm on to the negatives. It was pretty terrible. Um, I think that the main thing people just can't really look past is the fact that Ten Hag has had 3 years. Arne Slot's had 3 games, and Arne Slot is out playing Ten Hag at Old Trafford and winning 3-0. Like, how can you? And this, it's not like Ten Hag can say, "Oh, I don't know the manager." He's beaten him before. Like, he's managed him for years. Like, Liverpool should not be able to come to Old Trafford and do that. It's just so frustrating because it just didn't work at all. Like, yes, there was errors to Casemiro, Mainoo's goals were errors, but that is as a result of literal perfection needed every single time you play at the back in this system. Because if that 6 or 8 picks up the ball and they can't perfectly take it under pressure, then you will concede because this system is so open. I don't know. We're yet to see any of the fruits of this new coaching staff or this new. Well, he's never committed to saying a new style of play, but we're just not seeing anything different or anything that makes me go, do you know what? I can see how this style will work. Yes, you could say Ugarte, but then if Ugarte picks up the ball in that 6, I don't think he's the sort of player that's going to be able to. He might get caught on the ball like Casemiro. So how is that going to work? I don't know. Like, obviously you were there. How did you think about that? How are you feeling?
Ugh. Well, very much like you, really. It was a bit underwhelming, wasn't it? Because
Mm,
there was so much hype going into the game, especially from the United side of things. And then for after 10 minutes, it sort of seemed that you knew that Liverpool were going to outclass United, which they did in the end. I mean, Slot said it in his post-match interview with Sky Sports. He said this season they were last season, sorry, they were man marking on the midfield and they had a press with a winger and a striker. This season they are more of a 9 and 10 press, playing a 4-4-2. So for Slot to come out and say that on Sky Sports and not bat an eyelid about talking about tactics
mm,
on national broadcast, it's I don't know. I just couldn't believe
yeah.
when that came out of his mouth. I couldn't believe it genuinely what he said because it just sounds so basic, the tactics.
I think it's because they always. I feel like these players, well, these managers always know there is always a way to get at United, and you almost see every single team do it, but we eventually scrape through half the time. Because when was the last time, genuinely, that you watched United and we dominated a team? I cannot remember the last time we did that. Nor can I remember the last time we scored 3 goals to nil or anything like that. Genuinely.
It, you say domination there though. United actually they had 52% possession compared to Liverpool's 48. And I know that's not dominant, but it didn't feel whatsoever that like Manchester United were dominating Liverpool in that game whatsoever.
No, no. And that's why possession is misleading because there was no dominance from United at all. It was just you'd have possession and no threat. Um, or you just give the ball away. Like there's just not there's I don't know. I'm almost like losing hope because it just feels like you get your hopes up after a new summer. You're like, oh, all right, it's gonna get better now. New players come in, but it's the same system, the same football. And Colby Mainoo, yes, he made a mistake, but the work he's doing is ridiculous. He is putting ridiculous performances in and having to do a job of a 6 and an 8 in one. It's unfair on a 19-year-old. Hopefully Ugarte can help him with that, but Ugarte won't be fit. He won't be starting for probably another month, if maybe more. Who knows? I I don't know. I'm almost lost for words with United. I've just lost hope because I'm like, I genuinely don't see how this system's going to work right now because it's clear to me. Right, what I'll say, I like to waffle, but what I will say is when I used to watch, well, when we watch when we watch Pep, when we used to watch Klopp, they could play their second string team and they would still have the same identity. If Ten Hag has any of his key players out, the whole system goes to put. So when, let's say Ugarte comes in and it fixes everything, Ugarte gets injured, then the whole system's gone. How does that work? Why can it like it's all theoretical, but I don't feel like Ten Hag is building a system which the players are all indoctrinated into. I feel like he is just building a first 11 and trying to make. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know where we're going right now.
One simple question: Casemiro's future at United.
It shouldn't be. He should have been sold, which I think is the only real negative of this summer transfer window. But they couldn't sell him because nobody wanted him, and that's the fault of John Murta, etc. Glazers for signing on to a ridiculous contract, and we're paying the price. That's not Iniesta's fault. But no, I think we all know Casemiro's best days are gone. But he's probably a useful backup to Ugarte and might be able to perform better if he's not playing multiple games a week. But yet, right now we're only playing one game a week anyway. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Just before we come on to Ugarte, though, I thought that Ten Hag to substitute Casemiro at half time and bring Toby Collier on, who's only 20 years old, in such a big game when you're 2-0 down to your rivals. I just didn't feel like it was the right environment to bring on a youth player. And I don't know how you felt about that substitution.
Uh, I don't blame him. I know it's a bit risky, but Casemiro was terrible. Like, it's not just the mistakes, right? Okay, you can make a mistake, but it's the fact that any time he got the ball, he gave it away. Anything he did was just the opposite of everything turning to gold. It was like everything turning to steel that's been smacked with a hammer and I don't know, broken. I don't know how steel works. I'm not a genius in that regard, but it just felt wrong. Everything he did was wrong, and he looked like his head was gone. And I don't blame him, to be honest. But like in the cup final, Casemiro didn't play, and we played probably our best performance all season. Is that a coincidence? Who knows? But it just, yeah, I think if Ten Hag is trying to play a style of football which relies on the six being able to pick up the ball and take it on and pass it around, as well as being able to cover a lot of ground because it's so open, you need someone who's young enough to run and do that. And Casemiro isn't that. And I think that is really just that explains the problems, really. The main problem in that regard. But there's a lot more, but that.
So seeing as this replacement, Manuel Ugarte, who's coming in,
Mhm.
you said to me just before we came onto the podcast that you don't think Ten Hag wants Ugarte or didn't want him
No.
in the first case anyway. Why do you feel like that's the case?
Well, I saw something about it from a source. Not pretending to a know-it-all source, but I think it was the Muppeteers that said it. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was that said that Ten Hag never really wanted him. And I think you can, besides that, you can sort of tell from the way he spoke about Ugarte and sort of about McTominay, really. When he said Ugarte probably won't be ready for another month, maybe more months. Like I think that was his quote, something like that. It was almost like he was frustrated, and like he was like, "Oh, well, you've taken away Scott McTominay, and you've given me a player that's not fit." It sounded like he was almost giving a dig to the Ineos board, because I can't fully blame him because McTominay was a very useful asset for him and kind of kept him in the job, and is one of what. Well, Christian Eriksen can play in the eight, but he's not exactly in his fittest state. Like there's one of very few eights in the club right now. If Mainu got injured, United would be stuffed, massively stuffed, and we have no real cover for that right now. So yeah, I just think the way he spoke about McTominay and how he said like he just he basically he came out and basically said he didn't want him to go. Ten Hag said, "I'm very happy for him and for us, but it's mixed feelings because I would have preferred not to lose him. He has Manchester United in his veins. He was so important for our team. He was at Manchester United for 22 years, but unfortunately, it's the rules. You need to discuss the rules to do sales, and obviously, homegrown players, academy players bring more value. It's not the right thing to do for everyone, but for all parts, it's a good deal. For Scotty, he's happy. Of course, Napoli is a very good. Of course, for Napoli, a very good player, but also for us, that is basically him saying, well, obviously, he didn't want to lose him, and he understands why Ineos did it, but he's not happy they did, and it's not a good sign when your manager's coming out and saying that, whilst also coming out and saying, "Oh, we lost 3-0 to our biggest rivals at home, but we didn't get battered on XG." It almost feels, I feel like Ten Hag lost a lot of fans last season because of his press conferences alone. His inability to own up to mistake and is just always picking on the most pointless reasons why we played well. Oh, we had a few more shots or something, or the shots didn't ever go in. I feel like he's turning fans against him because you can't say that, oh, we didn't have any much XG, or they didn't have actually as much XG. You lost 3-0. You were still outplayed comfortably. No part of that game was it, oh, Liverpool got lucky there, really. They were the better team throughout the whole game, XG or not. I feel like that is just a cop out, and it's setting a dangerous precedent that we're 3 games to the season. I feel like not mistakes, and excuses are already coming in when this is meant to be a revolutionized side with a new coaching staff, new players. Like, what's actually changed, really? You can see some changes, but it's concerning.
You speak about and it seems like a power hold again. Ten Hag's had so much power over United in the transfers in recent years
Yeah,
before Ineos has come in. This McTominay deal seems to be sort of the perfect example of him not having as much power at the
yeah,
club as he used to. And it's blatantly obvious to see, isn't it, with that McTominay deal, like
yeah.
we say. But Manchester United, we're not going to go into who they're facing next because we'll do that next weekend, next week even. So we'll wait for that because it is the international break currently at the moment. But moving on to Manchester City, and it was
Yay.
very much of contrast to Manchester United's game against Liverpool, where Manchester City comfortably beat West Ham 3-1. Erling Haaland, that's probably his best game in a Manchester City shirt, I reckon. It's up there alongside the 6-3 treble season game against United at the Etihad, I'd probably say, and another hat trick for him. I thought all the City players had a great game, including Rico Lewis. And this brings me on to the next debate, Ethan. Rico Lewis has started in all of the past 3 Premier League games. He's being brought in more and more by Pep Guardiola season upon season. And Kyle Walker's still yet to feature this season. Does Rico Lewis keep Kyle Walker out of the City squad, do you think, this season? It's a
Well, it
bold
looks
claim.
like it. It looks like it. Pep's weird though because he is very faithful to a good training session. So if Kyle Walker earns his place in the team, he will play it, which is fair. But it looks like Rico Lewis is sort of going to take the place now. And it makes sense because obviously Rico Lewis is young and Kyle Walker is
33,
34.
34, yeah.
Around he's coming to his last legs and he's not the player he was. So it makes sense. And it's probably the right move because Rico Lewis is an immensely talented player. And yeah, he might not have the recovery speed that Walker has, but he offers you more on the ball. And at what, 21-ish, around that, he's young. I don't know the exact age. He's got the future ahead of him. He's got the whole road ahead, the whole Rainbow Road. So yeah, no, I think it's a no-brainer to just keep edging him in. Surprising that he didn't get much game time last season, but clearly Pep saw a reason why. And who are we to not trust Pep Guardiola in these decisions? So I think, yeah, he's definitely coming in, and Erling Haaland is definitely benefiting from having a a summer off. I feel like do you think that players might actually be jealous of Haaland and think like, oh, like here we are playing in the Euros and like we're knackered and you're just here fit and healthy because Rodri's not even played yet. That's the worst part about this. Or as a United fan, Rodri and Foden haven't played yet, and City and then Pep Guardiola. So City win all three games comfortably, and Pep Guardiola goes, "Oh yeah, it starts now." Oh yeah, United have had two losses from three, and yeah,
I,
how
I, I
do you
s-
stop Pep Guardiola?
I see where you're coming from. I think that most of the players, obviously, they would like a bit of recovery. Bernardo Silva's came out
Yeah,
today
today.
and
Yeah,
said that players do need recovery. The amount of games, especially with the new added two extra Champions League games and European games, it's just way too much, which is understandable. But I'm sure if Erling Haaland, you said to him, "Do you want to play in the Euros?" He'd definitely say yes, of course,
yeah, he
Norway.
would.
Yeah,
He would. He
definitely.
would. Do you think it can have? Well, no, I'd say it's not really something like I was going to say. It's an unfair advantage that a player like Haaland has got a lot more is playing, but then it's that completely makes no sense because a lot of defenders wouldn't have played in the Euros, etc. But he definitely is in the very good form and is going to be benefiting from not playing in the Euros, that's for sure. And if he can get back to his form 2 seasons ago, then the league's in trouble again. So yeah, and the new Champions League format's in trouble, which I guess we're going to discuss now. Sorry for
Yeah,
doing a job.
it's okay. What do you think of the Champions League format? Because it was done the other day, obviously. Ronaldo looked buzzing every single time he had to buzz the actual, or press down, sorry, on the Champions League logo to make the draws happen. How did you feel about the whole draw as a whole? Because it was definitely a new experience for everyone.
I actually didn't watch it because United weren't involved. I was like on Twitter refreshing like who got who, and then when I saw City got the easy group, I thought, oh yeah, same old then. Um, now, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch the draw live or anything, but I haven't really researched the format either. Obviously, I've got a bit of an understanding, but um,
So it's
yeah, I
come from
guess
the Swiss model, which is like something from chess apparently that's been adopted
hmm,
into football. So apparently
interesting.
it's better. Obviously, UEFA's goal for this was apparently to make the bigger teams play each other more often, which is something that we heard something the European Super League.
Mm,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah.
So that's obviously what they've tried to do with this new format. But the draw for City and who they've got, so they've got Inter Milan at home, then Slovan Bratislava away, then Sparta Praha at home, Sporting Lisbon away, Feyenoord at home, Juventus away, PSG away, and Club Bruges at home. Adam's going to share his thoughts for us now.
I think City will be pretty happy with the Champions League draw. Obviously, it's going to be tough getting used to playing 8 teams rather than six, and obviously the league phase format rather than the group stage, which has been a staple of City's seasons for the past 13 years now. But yeah, I think they'll be pretty happy with the draw. A couple of tough teams in there, particularly Inter, PSG, Juve. Obviously, aren't what they once were, but still could give us a game on the day. Um, Sporting as well are impressive with Gyökeres. They got quite a young team, which is doing good things over in Portugal. So that's a tough game as well. But I think yeah, City just not even only in terms of the difficulty of the opponents, but also the lack of familiarity. I think the Champions League in recent years, I think something that's been one of the criticisms, and one thing that you could say is in favour of the new format is the fact that you'd be playing the same teams quite a lot. Now there's 36 teams. I suppose that chance is kind of on one side it's reduced, but on the other side, because you're playing 8 teams rather than six, maybe it does increase. But um, yeah, I think we're playing a lot of teams that we're not playing a Shakhtar, we're not playing RB Leipzig, we're playing Sparta Prague, Slovan Bratislava. There's some interesting new teams there. And obviously, we played a few of these, like particularly Inter in the Champions League final, played PSG and Club Brugge and Sporting all in the 21-22 season. So there is some familiarity there, but overall, I think it's a nice mix for City, and it'll be tough. But in the league format, I think City got to be aiming for, out of the possible 24, we got to be getting like, you'd be expecting 18, 20 points really. So I'm quite excited to see how it goes this season.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts there, Adam, on the Champions League draw. Ethan, what do you think about City's draw?
Um, it should be pretty comfortable, really. Um, at home to Inter, I think it's right. I expect City to beat every team in the world, except probably Real Madrid in one of those 50-50 games. So they should be beating Inter at home. Then up until Juventus away, it doesn't really get tricky. So from October to the 11th of December, City should be pretty comfortable in the Champions League, which, after all this trying to make it harder, are they really playing any more? They're playing Juventus, PSG, and Inter Milan as three top sides. I don't know, but yeah, so then they've got Juventus obviously away and PSG away. That's where it gets tricky, but they should be pretty comfortable, I think, comfortably through. Um, yeah, I think with this, we'll just have to see. It's easy, it's all well and good to say, oh, it's bad, it's good, it's great, it's terrible, but until it happens, we won't know. Like it could happen, we get to the final and everyone goes, do you know what, fair play, UEFA, that's brilliant. Or the more likely people go, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And I'm probably more in that regard, but a lot of people are just nostalgic for never wanting change, and sometimes change is good. So we'll have to I sort of go into it with an open mind, but we'll just have to see. Hopefully, it creates more excitement, but we'll just have to see, really.
Going on to United's Europa League draw now. They've got FC Twente at home. They've got Porto away, Fenerbahçe away, PAOK at home, Bodo Glimt at home, Victoria Pulsen away, Rangers at home, and FC SB, or formerly known as Steaua Bucharest, away as well in Romania. Another decent draw for United. Some good away days for Manchester United fans on there. Porto away, of course. That's a very good away day. Very nice city. Fenerbahce. That'll be a very heated one. I mean,
Yeah.
United players played against Galatasaray last year. So to go to the other Turkish giant in Fenerbahce, that'll be interesting. See how they cope there. And the big one for me, Rangers at home for Manchester United. That's going to be a brilliant game. I think Rangers obviously have a huge following as well.
Always a bit of history of team. United and Rangers, bit of tension.
Yeah, exactly. Especially what the Rangers fans did to Manchester in
Yeah,
2008. What do you
exactly.
think about United side of the draw, though?
Yeah, well, you'd like to think it'd be very comfortable. Porto away could be a cracking game. Well, to be honest, actually, PTSD from Galatasaray in the Champions League last year. We can't rule anything out with Man United in Europe. Anything and everything can happen really. So I'm not going to put any bets on that. But United should go through. Should have enough quality. You'd hope so, but we don't. We just don't know. But yeah, it's a pretty good draw for the side. Some nice little games. Rangers, Porto, etc. So yeah, I think it's one of those, isn't it? Like you should be winning, but who knows with United?
It will certainly be a great draw for both teams and their fans, with Manchester City and Manchester United playing in Europe once again. But unfortunately, that is the end of this short episode. Thank you, Ethan, for coming on, and thanks for Adam for his voice memo as well. And if you did like this podcast episode, make sure to give us a rating with 1 to 5 on Spotify. Equally, do follow us on all of our social medias, as we're trying to get more active on there as well. So yeah, if you did like it, let us know. But that is it from us this week, and we will see you next week, where we will preview both Manchester United and Manchester City's games of next weekend. Goodbye.